Hello, and welcome to the Booze Book Baedeker.
Episode 4.
Woohoo! Episode 5.
Episode 5. Victory.
So we read 1984.
We did.
It really was not that upbeat.
It was good. It made a lot of sense since it coincided with the Olympics.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Expand.
Didn't you read that Wired piece? How the Olympics proves that we're in a dystopian era?
Oh, I didn't finish the article because I was getting bummed out.
It's really interesting.
Because they were talking about the poison darts for the dogs.
Well, no. It's that we're all like drilled into this thing that was so sloppily put together and displaced a bunch of people and animals. But anywho, not to get caught up on supplemental content.
So let's just start with a quick overview. We'll call it our 12-step program.
That's right.
We will indeed. So first of all, Winston's family disappears from existence. That's not actually the first thing that happens in the book, but if we look chronologically, that is the first thing that happens in the book. Winston is our main character. We like him. He's kind of stuck in this horrible...
He reminds me of Gollum. From Lord of the Rings. The way he's described, like all
He gets
skinny.
way more action than Gollum, I think.
You don't know Gollum before he was Gollum. He could have been... Alright, never mind.
And then step 2 is that he gets watched a lot.
Yep.
I mean, there are telescreens all over the place.
Yeah.
All over the place.
It's true.
And you don't...
And he works for the government.
He works for the government. He buys a notebook. This is step 3. He buys a notebook. That in itself is a thought crime and an actual crime, even though there are no laws.
That's right.
But people disappear and die, even though there are no laws. It's really strange.
It's all speculative.
Number 4, and this is where it gets interesting. Winston thinks that Big Brother is BS. Who's Big Brother? Well, Big Brother's basically the government.
Yep, exactly.
And thinking that Big Brother is BS is a thought crime.
It is.
Step 5. He meets a woman who also thinks that Big Brother is BS.
But only from the waist down, as Winston puts it.
What?
Yeah, because she's not about rebelling against Big Brother, like an actual rebellion. She's just about like the sexual experience of disapprovingly sleeping with people. Did you not get that?
No.
Okay. That's totally what's going on.
So,
in my mind, anyway.
We'll have to talk more about that later.
Yeah.
Right now, I just really want to talk about step 6.
Yeah.
Which is it's a tie-in. Have lots of clandestine hookups.
Look at that.
Because Julia and Winston, well, they do have a lot of clandestine hookups.
That's right.
It's the happier part of the book. I would say it was the happiest part of the book.
I provided a killer segue to step 6. I'm just going to say that. Thusly making my other segue not so good.
Step 7 of the 12-step program is try to make contact with the Brotherhood, which is Big Brother's nemesis.
Yeah, it's the revolutionary group. It's like Occupy Wall Street for fiction.
Okay.
Except more organized.
I sent pizzas.
What?
To Occupy Wall Street, I sent pizzas.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
The Valentine's Day pizzas?
No. I can't remember the timing, but they were not Valentine's Day pizzas.
To Occupy Minnesota, you're saying?
No, I sent them to New York.
So was it just dough and they had to cook them themselves?
No,
I'm confused.
I go like this, but I didn't call anybody. You just go online.
I see.
Order the pizzas, and then they deliver them to Occupy Wall Street. Sorry, I didn't mean to get all political.
What if the Wall Street bankers just took that money?
I'm sure they did. Oh no. Okay, shoot. Oh no. Okay, moving on. What step are we on?
9. Or 8.
No, we're on 8. Get caught with all your thought crime.
That's right. No more thoughts.
How did they know that? That's really what blew my mind. How did they know what you were thinking? That's amazing. There was thought police.
Well, because there's cameras everywhere, telescreens everywhere that recorded everything you did.
Yeah, but what were those telescreens doing if they could read your thoughts?
Well, they couldn't necessarily read your thoughts.
Then how did O'Brien know at the end what he was thinking?
What he was thinking?
Mm-hmm.
I thought he just, manipulated his diary entries that he was making throughout the first part of the book.
No, like he thought things, and he's like, you're thinking right now, if I have all this power, why am I blah, blah, blah. No,
Well, he's just a con man.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, con men are very good at making people think what they're thinking.
I bet that's true.
Double think.
So step 9, after you get caught with all your thought crime, you get brainwashed. You get brainwashed by O'Brien and Big Brother. Well, O'Brien is kind of Big Brother. O'Brien is an arm of Big Brother.
Yes.
A minion.
As was Winston, though.
Right?
Because he rewrote history.
He totally rewrote history.
Mm-hmm.
He totally did the things that he didn't approve of.
That's true.
He totally did that.
Gotta do what you gotta do. Gotta get those rations.
Step 10 of the 12-step program.
Mm-hmm.
Feed your girlfriend to the rats.
Oh, punny.
But not literally. That was creepy.
Fair enough.
That
was creepy.
It's really creepy. Step 11, get a cush job.
Gosh,
Right?
yeah.
That was step 11. It was totally step
Hit a little
11.
too close to home there.
Step 12. Step 12 of the 12-step program. Love Big Brother.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ignorance is strength.
War is peace.
Freedom is slavery.
They say these things over and over. But you probably know that because you read the book.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that book was crazy. That book was crazy. And what about all those little kids who were ratting out their parents and then their parents died because their kids ratted them out?
Right.
Why would you rip kids?
So part of part of Big Brother and their party initiative, let's say, was to have these junior spies, and they were kids of adults, and they would watch them to get party favor, basically. And it turns out that Winston's neighbor, Mrs. Parsons, and Mr. Parsons, who worked with Winston at the Ministry of Truth, well, their kids sold him out because they had some thought crime.
Thought crime.
Yeah. So
It's amazing.
it's sad.
It was sad.
Have to watch you back at your own home.
So I want to do a segment we call Happy Hour.
Happy hour.
Happy Hour! So Josh, what was the happiest part of the book for you? Because let's admit it, this book was extremely dark. So even finding a happy part?
It's levity. Levity through the darkness. No, my favorite part, it's kind of sad. I'm going to say funniest part, because that's a synonym, right? It's when Winston was explaining to Julia, his ex-wife Catherine, they were on a nice walk, talking to each other about not having sex. And he was like, man, this would be awesome if I could push her off the cliff. That would be really great right now. But instead, he's like, no, that wouldn't actually do anything because I forget why.
And then Julia's reaction was like, why didn't you push her off the cliff?
Exactly.
And that was hilarious, right? I thought
it was pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty funny
What
too.
is this?
I thought it was pretty funny too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it was just all the hookups. It was like, that was the one part of the book where I was all like, oh, this is nice. They were miserable, but now they're a little happy. Yay!
Yeah, but then Winston got mad.
When did Winston get mad?
I mean, he got peeved. They were talking about, how to rebel, and he was talking about, the proles, which is, the really poor part that the party's not afraid of, because, I don't know, essentially,
Why?
they're useless.
Why weren't they afraid of the proles?
I'm not sure.
That made me really confused.
I mean, I think that's just part of their political narrative, because if they're 85% of the population, and if they think they're obsolete, then they're not going to do anything.
Yeah, but...
Is what I would guess. I mean, I was a little confused about that as well.
That sleeping dragon's going to wake up one day, that's all I'm saying.
That's true. That's what Winston's belief was, and he wanted that rebellion to happen, whereas Julia, who was significantly younger than Winston, she was more rebellious in a sexual way, because the party didn't want sex to happen. They wanted that energy focused on hating the two other superpowers.
I love that quote about one day we will abolish the orgasm. Do you remember that? Do you remember that line? We will abolish the orgasm. That was great. O'Brien said that. That was great. I think I LOL'd on that. Literally.
Literally. You didn't just whisper LOL into your book. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and I read this on a real book. Not on a
good.
Kindle. I got it from the library. Yay. Okay, I read part of it on my Kindle too.
Yeah, I was gonna say you pulled up something over there. Lies. So, on to cheers.
Cheers. We should have a toast, shouldn't we?
I think we should.
We should definitely have a toast. To Big Brother.
To Big Brother. And I don't have any drink.
Mm. That's so sad. Let me get you a little more. Okay, maybe it was a lot more.
Yeah, I guess. But that's symbolism. That's symbolism towards the book because the rations kept dwindling. But they were like, this is the most rations we've ever had.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Which is kind of sad.
Okay, you do a toast and then I'll talk about the rations. And what was really the saddest part for me, it's like the opposite of happy hour. What's your toast?
To the Brotherhood.
To the Brotherhood.
To the Brotherhood.
Because that's like the opposite of Big Brother.
Emmanuel Goldstein. Mm-hmm.
Should we do a joint one?
A joint toast?
Yeah.
All right.
You ready? Right,
Yeah.
straight into the camera. To double think. Okay, good.
That's pretty well synchronized.
Because we haven't been drinking enough, we had to do some cheers.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, so the saddest part for me was the scene where his mom, it's like a flashback, and he's with his mom and his sister, and he's hungry, and he knows he's dying, and they had the chocolate ration got cut down, and they want to, and his mom's telling them to share the chocolate, and he's like, no, I want it all, and you know, he was just out of control because he was starving, and it was just heartbreaking. The whole thing was just heartbreaking. And then he left, and he felt ashamed, and he came back, and they were gone, and he never saw them again because they got swept up by Big Brother, his mother and his sister.
That is very sad.
That's a bummer.
I think the thing that had the most impact on me was the very ending when he was like drawing 2 + 2 = 5 in the dust on his table while he was just taking shots of victory gin. I think it explained like, I don't know. Somehow I got rosy cheeks out of the deal. Because that's a sign of an alcoholic, I guess. But that was sad.
Yeah.
They
And
finally won.
yeah, he had the memory, and then he acknowledged that memory as false. I mean, that,
exactly.
That was it. That was the
Well,
end.
he didn't know whether his previous memories of happiness were false or not.
Well,
But
no, that's not what I remembered. Like
Okay.
at the end when he's got the cush job and he's drinking at his Chestnut Cafe or wherever.
Yep.
He has that vivid memory of playing that game with his mother, right?
Yeah.
And
Okay.
and then he says, "Oh no, you know my mind's just playing tricks
Right.
on me," and I was like, "Oh, that's it. It's gone. It's all gone."
2 + 2 = 5.
Oh, O'Brien. We should talk more about O'Brien and them joining the Brotherhood because that's pivotal, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that's a big turning point in the book, definitely.
So he's working at his job. They have things like the 2-minute hate where everybody just gets up and they're all flustered and they hate people who probably don't even exist, and then they go back to their jobs, and Winston thinks it's BS, and he finds this he finds Julia and she thinks it's BS, and then they're like, no, we really need to find the Brotherhood, and then O'Brien reaches out to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no. I don't think Brian reaches out to him. Him and Julia go to O'Brien's.
Yeah, but after O'Brien says, come to my flat, why would they need to come to his flat?
And why does he have a flat? Sounds fancy.
well, that's because he's in the inner circle.
Right.
He's a BFD.
That's the first clue, like, oh, wow, this is a dumb idea.
But they go for it anyways,
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
they? Yeah, they're a little naive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to put myself in this world that was created, and I'm like, I don't think I would have done that. Like, I wouldn't have been that brave.
They weren't very secretive. They met in a public park. That's a little silly.
Yeah. I mean,
But yeah, I mean, basically O'Brien gained Winston's trust because Winston thought he looked like an intelligent guy. And then they started renting that room in, I forget what that shop was called.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
where
Yeah.
Winston had originally bought that diary.
do you know when the rats showed up and I thought the rats were like machines recording them. But that's not really what happened. The rats were
Right.
just rats.
I honestly, the first time I read this book, I thought that paperweight that kept getting mentioned was like a camera. But instead there's like a telescreen somewhere in the room.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
That was really
You'd
weird.
think they would have noticed that in all their risque business.
So they both get caught up. They both get brainwashed. Mm-hmm. After they both get brainwashed, Tim and Julia meet each other.
Yep.
And they have a pretty sad exchange about how once you're willing to feed your loved one to the rats, you don't really love them anymore. Because you know that you'd be willing to feed them to the rats. It was another downer. I mean, it wasn't as much of a downer as that chocolate and starvation thing, but it was still a downer.
No, that's a pretty big downer.
Yeah.
That was like their happiness in life, and it totally got shattered. And yeah.
To 1984.
To victory.
To victory. It was a good book. You should read it.
Yeah.
I hear it's a classic. It had been.
I hear that too.
It had been on my to-read list forever, and it was written in 1948, so that's kind of easy to remember because 48 is the opposite of 84.
Yep. Eerily accurate.
And the author is
George Orwell.
George Orwell. All right.
All right.
To victory.
To episode 5.